Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and we got a whole bunch of really good stuff to get into today. Some more stuff about that AMC's movie membership stuff going on. George Clooney may be directing a new film. Comcast may be prepping an even bigger $79 billion offer. We'll get into all those details in just a second. But before we get to all that stuff, let's go right off the top with this. You guys know that for some time, there's been some discussion about Marvel possibly doing a Black Widow movie. Now, it looks like it's taken another step towards maybe becoming a reality, as it's being reported that Marvel has shortlisted and is looking at an Australian director named Kate Shortland. Now, Shortland, once again, is an Australian director whose three current feature films include the 2004 romance Somersault, with Sam Worthington, by the way, the 2012 historical drama Lore, and 2017 psychological horror thriller Berlin Syndrome that also happened to star Teresa Palmer. I actually like her a lot. Now, there has been talk for a while about maybe doing that, and they've already got a screenwriter on board. I'm forgetting the guy's name who's screenwriting it, but anyway, he was like one of the spin-off movie of Frozen, Olaf's Winter Adventure, something. He wrote that. They've got him working on a script for a Black Widow movie. Now look, I like the Black Widow character very much, but see, Black Widow and Hawkeye, two of the original Avengers members to me, have always kind of been in the same boat with me. I love both of them as supporting characters in the MCU, especially Black Widow, as a matter of fact. She's like really great connective tissue throughout the entire MCU, and so is Hawkeye to some extent. But I've never honestly been very interested in seeing a feature film, standalone film of either of them. Like, in a universe of gods and people with all these miraculous powers and all this kind of stuff, I just don't know that I care all that much about a Hawkeye or a Black Widow in standalones. Again, I love them being peppered throughout the MCU and being used as key pieces within the MCU. I just don't know that I'm down for seeing a standalone movie. Now, a counter argument to that could very well be, well, John, in a universe filled with all these godlike characters, maybe something like a regular human being like a Hawkeye or like a Black Widow would stand out and actually be all the more appreciated. So that would be actually a good counter argument to mine as well. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Look, what's important to keep in mind here is that there has been no green light. Nobody's announced that they're going to do a Black Widow movie. Lots of movies go into certain stages of development, like getting a screenwriter, maybe looking at some directors, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily going to happen. So while the Black Widow movie has taken the next step towards happening, it's still not a sure thing that's going to happen. So let's just make sure we keep that in mind as we're moving forward on this. Okay, with that out of the way, there's a whole lot of stuff going on in the world of movie news, guys. So let's get you caught up with today's movie news feed. First up, we knew this battle and bidding war over Fox assets in play was going to be entertaining, and it has lived up to the hype better than most blockbuster films. It started with Fox accepting an offer from Disney at $52 billion. Then Comcast crashed the party with a $65 billion bid. Then yesterday it was revealed that Disney recountered with a $71.3 billion bid. Now, industry and market analysts are saying that Comcast could be preparing yet another counter bid in the form of an all-cash $41 per share bid, which would equate to about $79 billion, or roughly $8 billion more than Disney's current offer. It's important to note here that there is still a lot of time since the Fox shareholders, the ones who eventually will make the decision about all this, are set to meet and vote on the issue on July 10th. As soon as the AT&T purchase of Time Warner went through and cleared by the courts, we all knew there was going to be fireworks between Disney and Comcast and this whole Fox deal, and it has lived up to the hype. Now, myself personally, I think we're getting into dollar figures here that are just too expensive. Like, they're now both paying too much for what the Fox assets are worth. Now, should Comcast come in with this $79 billion offer? At this point, I don't think they should. But if they do, what is Disney prepared to do after that? Now, that's a big if. As of right now, all the analysts are just saying that Comcast is contemplating a $79 billion bid. Would they do that? And if they do, $8 billion more than where Disney's at, is Disney prepared to go even higher? It's important to note that at this point, both Comcast and Disney are both offering well over half of their own net value as companies in order to get the Fox thing. So, look, I think there's a good chance here that the current Disney bid at $71.3 billion will eventually be the bid that gets taken. And you know Bob Iger can't be happy about that, considering it's almost $20 billion more than what he originally wanted to pay for it. However, if Comcast does come through with another bid, what does Disney do? That's the big question at this point. How committed is Disney to getting Fox? And at what point does Disney just go, that's just not worth it? And at what point does Comcast just go, that's just not worth it? At what dollar value does that come into play here? Because we are talking about insane amounts of money, but I got a feeling this drama isn't over yet. Next up, we've known for some time now that a new Terminator film was in the works and that the new film would be a direct sequel to Terminator 2 and completely ignore all the subsequent Terminator projects that came after it. We've also known that both Linda Hamilton would be back with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and now we have our first look at Linda Hamilton in the new film, and she simply looks amazing. From Cinema Blend, these photos, shot and shared by the Terminator fans, shows a blonde and incredibly fit Linda Hamilton in battle fatigues and savage aviators, ready to bring the fight to whatever adversary gets in her way. We don't know the man she's walking with. This appears to be a shot of Hamilton on set, but not necessarily in a scene per se. But it does show off an updated look for this iconic version of the character who Hamilton last played in James Cameron's masterful T2 Judgment Day. The new Terminator film is currently slated to release in theaters on November 22nd, 2019. This woman is 61 years old, and she looks like she could kick all of our asses. She looks, I still remember the first time I saw Terminator 2 and that scene when she's in the prison and she's exercising and working out. Like at the time, you had never seen women that much in shape, especially in a Hollywood film, because, a lot of times Hollywood doesn't go for the strong female characters, especially at that time. And I just remember as a kid being floored by that scene and seeing how incredibly in shape she was. And she just looks absolutely fantastic. I dig the look of it. And, getting to the film as a whole, I really do think it was a smart move by them to make this a direct sequel to Terminator 2. Now, that's kind of all the rage now, right? Because Halloween is doing the same thing, right? The new Halloween film coming out is just a direct sequel to the original, ignoring all the things that came after that. Now we've got Terminator doing that. At one point, Highlander did that. I can't remember which one it was, but there was a Highlander film that came out, I think it was Highlander 3, that completely ignored and pretend like Highlander 2 didn't exist, which is good because Highlander 2 is one of the worst films in history. Anyway, I like the direction they're going with it. I like the director they got on board. Linda Hamilton looks great. It's important to keep in mind here, too, that both Linda Hamilton and Arnold Schwarzenegger are reportedly playing minor roles. Like they're going to be supporting characters in this new franchise, and they're kind of being used to leverage up new stars of the franchise. And that could be a very good move too if they're trying to set up a future franchise. Maybe we'll see Sarah Connor die in this film, maybe we won't, but whatever, she's going to look great. Because my God, Linda Hamilton, 61 years old, looks amazing. Next up, as most of you will remember, yesterday, AMC Theaters announced the upcoming launch of their new monthly movie membership service called A-List, which will allow members to see up to 3 movies per week, not per month, 3 movies per week. See 3D movies, IMAX movies, AMC Prime and Dolby Cinema films, online ticket booking, and AMC Stubs concession stand discounts, all for just $20 a month. Most outlets are seeing this as a response to MoviePass and Cinemia, and it absolutely is, but it's also a response to another set of market competitors, Fandango and Atom Tickets. With the new AMC A-List membership, the way members book their tickets is directly through the AMC app or the AMC website and not through third-party services like Fandango or Atom Tickets. From the AMC official website, visit amctheaters.com or the AMC Theaters app to access your virtual card, make reservations, and view your account. Now, no company enjoys needing to work with third-party vendors. And that's what AMC's had to do for a long time, is work with third-party vendors like Fandango or Atom Tickets. I mean, they just sell tickets to AMC Theaters and other movie theaters as well. And they're good services. I like Atom Tickets. I like Fandango very much. But I remember even working at AMC Theaters and there being talk around the head offices that, yeah, we'd rather not have to work. Not that there's anything wrong with Fandango or they have any bad relationship, but they would rather not have to rely on third-party vendors. This move, this A-List membership thing of theirs, is brilliant on several levels, because while we all may be focusing our attention on the effect and the fact that they're really getting at MoviePass and Cinemia and making people not have to use those services, just use theirs, the other added benefit of all this is that it gives these members, A-list members, only being able to use the AMC either website or app and cutting out the third party entirely. No longer will AMC people who use this membership need to go to a Fandango to get their tickets or go to an Atom Tickets to get their movie tickets. They can only get them through AMC itself. Companies love to keep customers in their own ecosphere. We've seen Apple do it. We've seen Android do it. I mean, we see companies do stuff like that. Companies like to keep their customers constantly in their own ecosphere if they can. And this new membership by AMC is brilliant because it kills several birds with one stone, both on the movie membership side with MoviePass and Cinemia, but also on third-party ticket vendors with Fandango and Atom Tickets, and it brings it all in-house. There are many reasons why this move by AMC is just great. And finally, Academy Award-nominated director and actor George Clooney is currently in talks to direct a sci-fi thriller called Echo. The film is based on a novel of the same name. From Variety, Echo centers on a drone specialist who has a psychological crisis after suspecting that his lover is not who she appears to be and wondering whether she's actually been replaced. If this deal goes through, Echo would mark George Clooney's 7th feature film as a director. He previously directed such films as Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, Good Night and Good Luck, Leatherheads, The Ides of March, The Monuments Men, and last year's Suburbicon. I'm actually quite a big fan of George Clooney's work as a director. Now, I did not like Leatherheads at all, and Leatherheads is actually the movie that I think stopped John Krasinski from becoming a big A-list star years ago, because that movie completely flopped, and it actually wasn't very good. But he's made another, some people don't like Monuments Men. I actually thought it was pretty damn good. And Good Night and Good Luck, obviously he was nominated for Best Director for that particular film. And I thought Suburbicon was better than a lot of people gave it credit for. But overall, I really like not one of the top 3 or 4 directors in the business, nothing like that. But I think Clooney's a pretty good director. To see him tackle some material like this, Echo sounds pretty interesting. To see him go like a sci-fi thriller route, that's not really something we've seen him do before to this extent. Can he play in this playground? And by the way, other than Suburbicon, I mean, he doesn't seem to direct a lot. He seems very picky and choosy about what he directs and when he directs. And I wonder, as he gets older now, if he's going to start transitioning more to being George Clooney, the director, and maybe a little bit less as George Clooney, the actor. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And that'll do it for today's installment of the Movie News Feed. And now you are all caught up to date on everything going on in the world of movie news. So now, guys, let's go on to our main topics. And of course, our main topics are submitted by you guys. You guys determine what our main topics are. How do you submit a topic or a question to be on the John Campea Show? It's simple. You just email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Put the word topic in the subject line and keep your emails to 90 words or less. Once again, email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Put the word topic in the subject line and keep those emails to 90 words or less, guys, or else I simply cannot use them on the show. All right, with that out of the way, let's get to the first email today. And the first email today comes to us from Lin Guo, who writes, "Hey, John, can you settle a debate for me? I just saw the post on Blu Ray and I thought it was so great that I might include it in my top 10 of this year. However, my friend said that was a cheat because the movie was released last year, but I only have the chance to see it recently. Have you ever been in a similar situation? What do you make of this? Thanks, and filthy forever." Well, thanks a lot for the question, Lynn. And this is actually a topic and a subtopic that comes up a lot. Like a lot of times people talk about, a movie comes out in December of, say, 2015. And then you say it's the biggest box office movie of 2015. People say, no, that shouldn't count because a lot of its box office was made the next year in 2016. Here's the answer to the question. We all, as film fans, need to kind of adhere to one simple rule so we always know we're all on the same playing field. You count a movie in the year it's released. So, if you're just getting around to watching the post now, and I thought the post was great, I thought the post was wonderful, but even if you saw it this year, just for the sake of consistency with your conversations with other film fans, you need to count the post as a 2007, was it a 2017 film? I can't remember what year it came out, but in talking about the movies, you always count the movie in the year it's released. So if a movie releases on December 28th, of 2017, then it is a 2017 movie. Whatever box office it makes, even if it overlaps into 2017 or 2018, it counts as whatever year the movie came out with. Now, sure, you can, for your own internal monologues, you can count it as whatever year you want. But just for the sake of consistency, when you're talking to other film fans, if you're talking about your favorite film of 2016, it's got to be a movie that released between January 1st and December 31st of 2016. If you want to compare box office numbers, box office, by the way, always counts the movie in the year in which it was released. Doesn't matter if it releases on January 1st, if it releases on December 31st, box office-wise, it counts as the year it's released in. So, when you're talking to your friends, I'm going to have to side with your friend on this one. You got to count it towards the year that the movie came out, just for the sake of consistency, so all film fans are on the same page. All right, let's move on to the second email of the day. And the second email today comes to us from Christian Corbett, who writes, fan from Hamilton, Ontario here, the Hammer, my hometown. I live in Burbank, but Hamilton, Ontario is my home. I was wondering, if they did ultimately make a Back to the Future, Black to the Future would be a very different movie. If they were ultimately to make a Back to the Future trilogy remake, do you think it would still be set in the 1980s and Doc and Marty would travel back to the 50s and forward to 2015, our modern day? Or would they set it in modern day and they travel back to the 1980s and into the future into the 2040s? It's a good question, Christian. You know what? I totally think you modernize it. If you remake Back to the Future, and believe me, at some point they're going to remake Back to the Future. And that's fine. Don't panic. People who are fans of the originals, don't panic. The originals won't disappear. The original trilogy will still be there. It's not going to disappear if they do remakes, so don't panic. But I do think eventually they're going to remake Back to the Future. And when they do, personally, I think the best move is to, look, when they released the original Back to the Future, it was set in current day. So if you remake it, it should again be set in current day. So not only does it make more sense that way, but also it's a good way to differentiate the new series, the new trilogy, from the previous trilogy, right? So yeah, I like that theory. I like that if you remake Back to the Future, that you set it today, 2018, and when you travel back in time, you're going back to the 1980s, and going forward in the future, you got to go to a futuristic era. So for us, about 2040, 2050, whatever. So yeah, I think that when eventually they do go about doing that, that you set it. I love this art that Ray makes. Okay, when you set it, if you're going to do it, I think you do it in modern time, go back to the 80s, forward to 2040s, 2050s, something like that. All right, let's move on to the final email today. And the final email today comes to us from Matthew Leach, who writes, hey, John, you've said before that you think if Warner Brothers decides to speak on what's happening with Reeves' Batman at this year's San Diego Comic-Con, it'll give us a clear look at what direction they're going to go for the DCEU's future. My question is, why do you think that? Out of all the characters' films we are getting, why do you think it'll be specifically Batman that will pave the way? So yeah, so for those of you who don't know what Matthew's talking about, on one of the previous shows, I said, I'm wondering if at Comic-Con, because we know Warner Brothers is going to go big at Comic-Con. They've already announced that they're going to drop the Aquaman trailer at Comic-Con. You know they're going to do big presentations for Shazam and probably Wonder Woman 2. What they have not announced, but what some of us are speculating, is that they'll finally give us some insight into the Batman film. If they even know what they're doing with it by then. But if they do, then Matt Reeves will be there and they'll give us some insight into the Batman film. And what I said at the time was, I believe once we hear what the plans for Batman are, it will give us a better idea about the direction the DCEU is going to go as a whole. So why do I feel like what direction Batman is going in will give us a better idea of the future of the DCEU as opposed to Aquaman, or as opposed to Shazam, or as opposed to Wonder Woman? The answer to that's pretty simple. Batman, bar none, without doubt, is the crown jewel, not just of the DCEU properties. Batman is the crown jewel of all of Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers' crown jewel, their most valuable IP right now, is Batman. And I think there is a sense around Warner Brothers of regret that they did not start off their DCEU with Batman to set the tone and set the direction. We've already heard from some executive producers over at Warner Brothers that they're already referring to the DCU up to now as not being on the right path. Remember, the executive producer of Shazam and Aquaman recently said, Aquaman's going to be the movie that sets the DCU on the right path, of course implying that they haven't been on the right path up till now. And I think around Warner Brothers, there is a sense of regret that they did not lead off with Batman and let Batman set the tone. He is your cornerstone piece. I mean, think of it in terms of basketball, right? You build your team. If you got LeBron James, you build your team around LeBron James. You don't go and draft a second string point guard first and then go get LeBron James and let the point guards, this second string point guard, kind of set the tone for your team. No, you start with LeBron James. Batman is the DCEU's LeBron James. And I think, again, from some people I've talked to, there is a little bit of a sense of lament that they did not start with Batman and build their DCEU around Batman. And I think Walter Hamada, who is the new head of the DCEU, as he's getting ready to put his thumbprint on the DCEU, I suspect, this is not insider information, I don't know this for a fact, I'm just saying this is my speculation. I suspect that any new philosophy, any new direction, any new, North Star for the DCU and the direction it's going to go is going to be built around Batman. And in particular, Matt Reeves' Batman. And that's why I suspect that. So, now look, we'll find out a lot more at Comic-Con. Because if they don't even have any Batman presentation at Comic-Con, then we'll know they're still really behind. If there is a Batman presentation, I believe that presentation will give us some insight. It'll be our crystal ball into seeing what's the future of Walter Hamada's DCEU. Because I do believe, honestly, the direction that they take Batman is the direction they take the whole DCEU. Where Batman goes, the DCEU goes. That is what I believe Walter Hamada's philosophy is. It's not a bad fly. There are other ways to do it, for sure, but he's your most valuable IP. So you build it around that. We'll see what happens, though. I mean, Comic-Con is coming up here pretty soon. Don't forget, I got my annual panel at Comic-Con. Make sure you come out and join me at that. But we're going to find out soon enough. Comic-Con's just about a month away, and we'll see what they've got in store for us. Okay, guys, with all that out of the way, I got about 10 minutes left here, so let's go over to your live questions. A bunch of you guys have been sending in some live questions, so let's see what you got here. And the first live question comes to us from Manuel Fernandez, who writes, didn't Fox already accept Disney's offer? All right. Spread this news around, okay? There is so much misinformation that's just complete false. No. There are people on YouTube and on running headlines, oh, it's a done deal now. Disney and Fox, they've made their deal. It's done. No, it's not. All right? Here's the facts. All right? The fact is that when Disney made its initial $52 billion offer, the very first offer that was made, the Fox board accepted the offer. But that didn't mean it was done, because it doesn't matter what the Fox board wants. All that matters is what the Fox shareholders vote on. It's the shareholders who have to vote on it. The Fox board has to, that's part of the process. The Fox board has to approve it. And they approved the Disney $52 billion deal. It was approved. The Fox board accepted Disney's $52 billion deal. There were headlines of, Murdoch and Bob Iger shaking hands. Yeah, it's a done deal, right? Ah, ha, ha. Except the Fox shareholders hadn't voted yet. And that's why Comcast was able to come in and say, hey, Fox shareholders, don't vote yet, because we're going to make you a bigger offer. And even though Fox's board had accepted the Disney $52 billion offer, it's meaningless because Comcast came in and made a $65 billion offer. So much for Fox accepting Disney's $52 billion deal. Throw it away. Because they knew the Fox shareholders would vote no on the Disney deal when they know they've got a $50 or a $65 billion deal from Comcast. So now fast forward a bit. Now Disney has counter-offered with a new deal ranging at $71.3 billion. All right, and now once again, the Fox board has received and approved the bid from Disney, but it's still no different from the first time Disney bid at $52 billion. It's irrelevant until the Fox shareholders vote, and the Fox shareholders do not vote until July 10th. That's it. So it means nothing. Comcast, now whether or not Comcast will come in with this $79 billion bid that these market analysts are talking about remains to be seen. But Comcast can still come in and announce to the Fox shareholder, hey guys, we got $79 billion here for you, $8 billion more than Disney. And if that happens, then the Fox shareholders will vote no on the Disney deal because they want the $8 billion more dollars. So all these headlines running around that Fox and Disney deal now wrapped up, it's bullshit. It's just wrong. This is the exact same scenario we're in right now as when Disney made the $52 billion offer. Fox received it, the Fox board accepted it, and then it has to go to the Fox shareholders for voting. But Comcast still came along, offered a bigger offer that the Fox board knew, well, our shareholders are going to say no to this Disney deal, so there it is. That's why Disney had to come and make a bigger offer. So no, this is not done. Unless Comcast decides not to make another counteroffer between now and July 10th, this is not done. Comcast or anybody else, Apple can come in and make a bid for Fox if they want. Google can come in and make a bid for Fox if they want. Like anybody can come in and make Netflix if they want to. Nothing is done until July 10th when the shareholders vote. And all the shareholders care about is how much money they're going to get. That's all the shareholders care about. That's it. Nothing more. So anybody who's telling you this Disney Fox thing is done, ignore them. Just completely ignore them. It's not done. The facts are the fact is this is not done until the Fox shareholders vote on the 10th. They did accept the deal. The board did, but they accepted the Disney $52 billion deal too. And that was irrelevant, just like it's irrelevant now. This ain't over unless Comcast decides not to counterbid and unless nobody else decides to come in and throw their hat in the ring. Unless that happens, this thing is still wide open until July 10th. So now Disney and Bob Iger just got to sit there and wait to see what Comcast does. And if Comcast does come in with a $79 billion deal, then Disney's either got to get out of the race or they got to up their deal again. They got to up their offer again. So this thing is still on. Do not be deceived. It's still on unless Comcast decides to not follow up and counteroffer again. That's the only way this thing's over. And as of right now, they've not thrown the towel in. So it is what it is. But it is crazy how much people believe this erroneous information that, oh, the deal's done. No, it's not. It's not. Ignore the headlines. Read the articles. Ignore the headlines. So this thing's not done. Again, July 10th is when the Fox shareholders vote. That is when it'll be done. Okay, so anyway. Caleb Bradford writes, have you seen the Welcome to Marwen trailer? It looks really interesting. I think Steve Carell's a very gifted dramatic actor. Oh yeah, everybody knows Steve Carell's a great dramatic actor. He's been nominated for Academy Awards. He's quite good. And the trailer looks amazing. You know what? This is the type of movie that whenever I hear people complain, Hollywood doesn't make any original films, I've got a list of films that I ask them, have you seen this, this, or this? No? Then shut up, because you're part of the problem. And this, I think, Welcome to Marwen is going to become one of those films. Because it looks, I've never seen anything like it. At least from the trailer. I haven't seen the movie yet, obviously. But at least from the trailer, I've never seen anything like this. It looks so fresh and so different and so original from any other film I've ever seen before. So, yeah, I thought it looked terrific. Steve Carell's fantastic. I'm a big Leslie Mann fan. I've been a fan of Leslie Mann forever. And it's really cool to see that 40-year-old virgin reunion, because Leslie Mann and Steve Carell have one of the funniest scenes in film history together. Let's get some French toast. I mean, it's one of the best scenes. So seeing them together in the movie is great for me. Let's see. Ronnie J. Royster writes, when will the DCEU introduce Darkseid? Oh, who knows? We shouldn't even be asking that question right now. The real question is, what direction is the DCEU going? Let's find out first what direction they're going in, and then maybe once we have a sense of their direction and their plan, then we can start speculating about Darkseid. Until we even know what their path is right now, what their story arc is going to be, what direction they're going, it's impossible to speculate about when we're going to see Darkseid. It's just absolutely impossible. Maybe he's in their next movie. Maybe he's not for 20 more movies. Like, let's get a sense of the direction of the DCEU first, whatever they're going to do in this post-Justice League era of the DCU, and then we can start to speculate and start forming ideas about when we're going to see Darkseid. As of right now, it'd be really premature to even venture a guess. ZCM writes, any idea when Mindhunter Season 2 comes out? You know what? I don't off the top. Easy, just Google it. I like Season 1 very much. And that show, Mindhunter, was not what I was expecting. For some reason, I started watching Season 1 thinking there was going to be some kind of supernatural element to it, but there wasn't. And I really, really, really dug that first season show. It was a very different kind of show than what I thought it was going to be, but it was intense. It was cool seeing the girl from Fringe in there as well. I thought the performers were all fantastic. I'm looking forward to Season 2, but as of right now, honestly, I have no idea when it comes out. Let's see. Patrick Conway writes, love to have seen the Russos direct Black Widow. I don't know. I'd like to see the Russos move on now. You know me, I just don't like seeing one director or one set of directors staying on one property too much. I think bad things happen when you do that. And as great as I've loved what they've done so far, I would love to see them keep themselves creatively fresh by getting away from the comic book genre for a bit. Go direct some other things and then come back to the comic book genre. That's kind of how I feel about it, because I think you can get stale pretty quick. We've seen it happen to some great directors. And even Christopher Nolan, I think the third Batman film he directed was the worst one. Sam Raimi, the third Spider-Man movie he directed was the worst one. Christopher Nolan and Sam Raimi are great directors. So I would really like to see, before they peter out, I'd love to see the Russos leave the MCU for their own creative juices, direct other types of films, or at least one or two, and then come back to the MCU again. So, but then again, you know me, I don't even care to see a Black Widow movie. I just never cared about Black Widow or Hawkeye in standalone movies. I like them in the MCU, I just don't really care to see them in their own standalones. ZCM writes, what are the ramifications to Comcast if they lose? What's their net worth? Comcast's market cap value, I believe, is at about $145 billion. That's their market cap value. I believe Disney's market cap value is almost similar. It's about $150 billion. So it's crazy. These companies are now, if Comcast comes in at $79 billion and Disney tops it, both Disney and Comcast will be in a position that they're making an offer that's greater than half of their own worth. That's dangerous. Comcast is very smart people. Disney is very smart people. If they make those offers, then it means they can handle it. But you're getting into some dangerous territory at that point. What's the ramification for Comcast? They keep $70 billion in cash that they were almost about to spend. It's not a bad day. This is a no-lose situation for Comcast. For Comcast, it's a no-lose situation. If they get Fox, they get Fox. And great. If they don't get Fox, then the CEO of Comcast hates Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, and vice versa. And so if Comcast loses, at least he gets to sit back in his desk, kick up his feet, and laugh his head off going, I just forced Bob Iger to spend almost $20 billion more than he was about to buy Fox for. He was about to buy Fox for $52 billion. I just made him spend an extra $20 billion. So it's for the Comcast CEO, it's a no-lose situation. He either wins the bid and gets Fox, or he loses it and he just made his arch nemesis spend $20 billion more than he wanted to. So for him, it's a no-lose situation. Let's see. ZCM writes, thoughts on Hereditary. I've talked about that last night as well. Finally got around to watching Hereditary. Really enjoyable. I didn't love it as much as most people seem to be loving it. I don't know. It's not in my top 5 films of the year right now, but it's really great. And one of the things that I do like about it a lot, and you kind of got the sense of this from the trailer, was that they rely more on the tone and the atmosphere of the film to create that horror sense than boo kind of things that a lot of North American filmmakers do when doing horror. So I liked it quite a bit. Neil Panshaw writes, Boss is staring me down as I watch this, John. I always get a kick when people tell me they're watching this at work. That's awesome. And I just see you just keep watching it anyway, even though the boss is staring you down. That's hilarious. Santez Henderson writes, you should do a commentary on Highlander 2. You speak of it so much. It's going to be something we witness together. It's pure greatness of terrible. No, I'm never going to do a commentary on it because nobody would watch it. It would be pointless for me to do that. But it is truly an awful movie. If you want to watch an all-time, epically, one of the 3 worst films in Hollywood history, watch Highlander 2. One of the 3 worst big Hollywood studio wide-release films. One of the top 3 worst ones ever made. The unholy trinity is, of course, Highlander 2, Catwoman, and Battlefield Earth. And, yeah, it's just so epically awful, man. Paul Niranjan writes, what are your thoughts on Bollywood movies, and have you ever watched? Yeah, I've watched a couple. Actually, some of the AMCs around here have played a couple, and me and a couple of my friends, we've gone to 1 or 2. I'm not a Bollywood guy, to be honest with you. They're not films that necessarily appeal to me. They have a community and they have a fan base, which is awesome. And it is neat seeing them get more play in North American theaters. I think that's great. I think the diversity and stuff is wonderful. Will admit, not really films for me. Like I watched one that was really quite good. It was something Part 3. I'm trying to remember the actual name. It was Part 3, and it was action, and it was actually quite enjoyable. But the other ones I've watched, I realized these aren't made for me, and that's fine. So I don't watch a lot of Bollywood, to be honest with you. ZCM writes, thoughts on Leave No Trace and Welcome to Marwen. Well, I haven't seen the Leave No Trace one yet, and I just talked about the Welcome to Marwen one, which is great. Just a couple more here, guys. Congrats to Anne on the promotion and your work. Well, thank you so much, Derek. Anne got a promotion. We went out to celebrate last night. It was a big deal. Super proud of her. Miles Pardo writes, Bloomberg says Comcast could turn to Sony instead. I mean, well, that's always been a possibility. But that's always been around. That whisper has been around for a long, that Comcast could be eyeballing Sony. The problem is Sony's financial status has improved over the past year or two. And they're not nearly as vulnerable as they were before. Now, that doesn't mean it's impossible that they couldn't get, but the new CEO of Sony has a much bigger commitment to the film division than the previous CEO did. So that could be possible, but it's more likely than not that they wouldn't be. I don't think Sony is, and they're just in a different position now. It would cost Comcast a hell of a lot more to acquire them now, and they're not even for sale, than they would have been if they tried to get them a couple of years ago. Miles Pardo writes, Hobbit trilogy is a Star Wars prequel. Oh, that's easy. Hobbit trilogy. I actually like the Hobbit trilogy. It's nowhere near as good as the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, but I actually like the Hobbit trilogy. Don't love it, but I like them, whereas not so much of the Star Wars prequels. Okay, final question of the day comes to us from Preston Walden, who writes, can you comment on the lawsuit against Disney, Universal, and Fox from SFX Company? Have you heard this? I actually have no idea what we're talking about. I don't know what the SFX Company is. Never heard of it, so I am not familiar with this particular lawsuit, so I can't comment on it. All right, guys, I am all out of time right now. For those of you who sent in live questions I didn't get around to, don't worry. I will take those questions, use them in the next companion video. I meant to put up the new companion video this morning, but Ann and I were out late last night celebrating her promotion. So I'm going to make the next companion video tonight, and it'll be up tomorrow. And these live questions that I did not get around to will be on that companion video. So keep your eye open for that. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today. Hey, listen, guys, do me a favor. If you're somebody who enjoys watching my shows and you like my programming, do me a favor and take a second and go over to www.patreon.com/JohnCampea. There you'll get all the information about what does it mean to be a Patreon supporter. Number 2, how being a Patreon supporter keeps this show on the air, especially in these rapidly declining YouTube ad revenue era that we're in right now. And then also what benefits there are to being a Patreon supporter. And then maybe you'll want to become a Patreon supporter too. If you do, that would be awesome. And if not, that's perfectly fine. I'm just happy you're here being a film fan with us. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today. Don't forget, a little bit later this afternoon at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, we've got open mic, where it's just all open mic questions. We talk for about 45 minutes to an hour, just as a bunch of friends standing around a virtual water cooler talking about our favorite things. Make sure you join us for that. That'll do it for me, guys. My name's John Campea. Thanks for joining me, and until my next video, bye-bye.